to another episode of Sideways Rain. We are coming to you live on a beautiful Friday morning. Good morning, good afternoon to all the listeners out there. Today we have another special guest for you guys that is a vet in the event industry. And we all know in this industry, everybody has their own storm. There's an event that you'd like to forget, one bad show, one client from hell. But today our guest has a different problem. His whole entire industry has gone under not once, not twice, but 4 different times. And we're gonna get into how he sustained that.
Yeah, everybody remembers the dot-com bubble, the effects of 9/11, the 2008 financial crisis, and most recently, the COVID shutdowns. So Kevin White has spent 30 years in experiential design, and 4 times he's watched the floor drop out from under him entirely. Not a rough patch, but the boat was actually sinking and there was no lifeboat. So today he's going to tell us how to survive the unsurvivable more than once. So with that, here comes the rain. Kevin, welcome to Sideways Rain. We're so happy to have you here. Quick reminder for the audience of our format. We will cover the storm, but it's not all about the storm. We'll cover that umbrella moment and the clear skies that come after. Kevin is a founder and chief strategist of XPL, an experience design agency. He works out of Rhode Island currently and has over 30 years in live events. His client work speaks for itself. Harvard Business School, the U.S. Department of State, the Special Olympics, and Duke University's Centennial, just to name a few. He's been elected international president of ILEA by his peers and teaches at NYU and the Event Leadership Institute. Builder of Beyond the Agency, started the Table executive retreats in 2019 and is writing his first book on innovation and experience design. A native New Yorker, now in Rhode Island, like we said, lifelong storyteller and self-described as incredibly loud, so crank up the volume or maybe turn it down. So Kevin, we've got a lot to get into, but before we do, what the hell else should we know about you?
Oh my God. You know, I think one of the greatest things that I got to experience, you get to experience a lot of things in events. You get to see and witness a lot of things. But currently for me, the greatest thing is experiencing my kids' lives. So I'm currently playing zone defense, got 3 kids, and they are the greatest sort of client experiment, so to speak, audience experiment. Like I get a test case every single day in how people act, react, what they love, what they hate, what they say, how honest they are, or whatever, every day with my kids. So I think father would go to the top of that list. And just a lover of the origins of life. I've been on probably like a 4-year journey now of going deep inside. So you're definitely going to get some Zen, Buddha will come out at some point in this conversation. So those are just some of the things about, who I am and what people should know.
Well, we'll lean into those noble truths. And yes. as a father myself, and Father's Day this Sunday, happy Father's Day to you. And the truths that our children speak to us sometimes can be quite cutting. And, it can be quite jarring when you see yourself in them as well. That's always fun. So let's get into your storm. Like we said, you've lived through a lot, the dot-com, 9/11, 2008, financial crisis, and COVID. Take us back to maybe the first one, because you've experienced this a couple different ways. One, as an employee of an organization, or a few as an employee of an organization, and one as a leader of an organization. So maybe take us back to the first one, that dot-com bubble. Like some of our listeners might not have even been born yet for that one.
Yeah, and each one of these, what is amazing is each one of these is different in its own sort of unique way. Maybe 2099, 2000, and 2008, maybe they feel the same in a way, but all the others were just this notion of my God, what would actually cause this? A lot of people always think in terms of what happens if we lose a client, Or, what happens if they stop using us because they judge us and then that's it? Or maybe that one client does bad in business. But you have to say to yourself, what happens when a system is so connected that when one thing drops, everything is dropping? Then you feel like, oh my God, what do we do? .com was just, this stock market orgy of we can't lose here. We're printing money. Everything is great. And one of the things that the event industry loves to do, because it's so emotional based, right? We drive emotion is one of the key things that we do for people, is we'd love to feel emotional. I mean, what person in the event industry wouldn't say we're full of emotional people? And being in the party mode and grabbing that money is very, it's innate to the event industry. So when things are booming, we don't even pay attention. We just go, and this will all be great.
Yep.
And what we don't do enough of is boring stuff. Like we don't do enough of the forecasting. We don't do enough of economic, forecasting, of keeping our books in order.
Yep.
Right? How many people are like, I'm the show person, I'm the creative person, but you got to be the business person.
Yep.
And so .com was one of those moments where everybody was feeding on this and expecting it and expanding and growing. And then they were just completely caught off guard. And when a stock market dips or crashes, as incredible as it does, it's going to have collateral damage. And so I was actually at one company, the very first company I ever worked for, when that happened. And it started to create ripples everywhere. And the layoffs started happening almost immediately. And that the notion of riding a wave is one thing, and trying to flatten out the waves, right? That's part of business, is you're going to hit waves, but how can you make it feel a little like this as opposed to this? But when something collapses, you're going to have to be able to adjust for the pain that's going to occur. And .com was the first thing I experienced where it's like, wow, stuff is wiped out.
Yep.
Like companies are gone, ecosystems are gone. And you see that and you say to yourself, well, how do you survive? How do you survive when an ecosystem goes? Like when you're able to, here's the lighting company we use, and now they're down to 2 people as opposed to 20.
Yep.
You're like, oh, I can't call them at a moment's notice and make what happens happen. So .com was for me the first sort of eyes wide open on how bad business can be. And I will say this, the seed was planted during that for me, for my own personal business journey. The business owner at the time, he and I had a lot of sit downs. I was a young kid. I was 22 or 23 when I was 23 when I joined his company. So I was like super young, but then immediately got into leading the production team. And he says to me, Kevin, my God, business, I'd probably make a lot more money if I just ran this as me.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of business owners can attest to that. Most of the ones that I talk to, especially if I go into their agency and I'm asked to facilitate or run something for them or teach their team members something or what have you, but we get a lot of, behind the scenes talk. And 9 times out of 10, the business owners are like, oh my God, never hire anybody. It's one thing I always hear. It's like one of the worst things about business is people, even though it's the best thing about business is people. It's like the nightmare of leveraging people. So when I left that company, as it started to collapse during .com, and it was like, yeah, this is going to be a long road. And I had to take inventory of what I wanted to do, the type of work I wanted to do, and the place I wanted to be in. I was left with that thought of like, what is life like if it's just you as opposed to you're managing everything?
Yeah.
And we were just talking earlier about, the universe gives you gifts, and that was a painful gift, but a gift nonetheless, because it gave me complete perspective for some of the next things that came down the road.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I think, the people that we hire are obviously our greatest asset, but also our greatest liability when it comes to the business side, especially in a creative industry, right? So when you talk about operational expense in a creative industry where we I don't have warehouses of gear. 75% of our OpEx is wrapped into the people. And so you have to be really careful about when you hire and how you can sustainably grow. So when those dips come, that you're prepared for it. And I'm wondering, like, if we can draw a parallel to today, that .com bubble where the US GDP was tied so tightly to that .com bubble, to today where we're tied so tightly to this AI boom. And if we shouldn't all just be on our toes right now and learning from this history.
Yeah, no. So the answer is simple. No one's going to learn, because I think we're so attached. So there's learning and wisdom.
Yeah.
And then there's your innate humanity where you're run by chemicals.
Yeah.
And the dopamine hit of riding success clouds your vision. And I think that this is so we'll get deep if we want to here.
We want to.
But when we lose the knowledge that we're run by that, then we start making horrible decisions and we start clouding. I mean, just think about bad relationships. Until you understand who you are and how flawed you are, what your trauma is, you repeat every relationship pattern over and over and over again until you go, what am I doing? And in business, it's the same way. And in business, it feels even more existential, because it's like, this is how I buy food, right? Yeah. This is how I'm going to exist. And so we don't learn. In fact, after COVID, I went around sort of asking people, like, well, what did we learn? What are you going to do differently? And it was shocking how people learned about human nature, but we are going to get hit again, and we are going to crash again.
Yep.
And so now your question is not, hey, have we learned? I hope we've learned enough to lessen that blow. It's like, no, in America, we're cranked for full throttle all the time. And that means take the guardrails off. And that means lie to yourself about how good things are going to be or how bad things are. So that's, again, I'm a pessimist, I think, in a way by nature, but it prepares you to, I'm just looking at the data. Like each one of these, it was the same thing. It was like, my God, didn't everybody recall the last go around? And then the next one is like, nope. So the Groundhog Day, you just wake up and you forget that it happened.
Yeah.
And here we are again. So it'll happen.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So the .com wave comes, you're an employee at a company. You spoke about how you learned a lot from that opportunity. Eventually you had to exit that company. Walk us through what those next steps were like with the new knowledge that you had from the experiences of the .com boom, and how did that propel you to your next step in your career?
Right. Yeah. The first thing that was, so I was left with, do I want to still be here? We were growing as a company, and then we reduced down. It's like Sisyphus, it's like you're starting to roll the rock up again. And then I say to myself, I'm still young. I was in the middle of, I don't want to go to the country, but I was in a semi-rural area doing events, but it was real close to where all the pharmaceuticals were out in New Jersey. And I was just like, I think I want to be back in the city. So for me, I made a personal choice and said, jump back into the city. What options are available? And it was a bit of a kismet where I was doing a talk with somebody else, and they're like, hey, you were great. And I'm like, well, your company seems great. And maybe we should meet up and go, maybe the timing is right. So that's what caused me to jump in. Is like, I wanted to see more. I wanted to experience more. And and the company was slightly bigger and seemed like it was thriving. So I was like, I'm going to go to where you guys are and let me start anew. And a lot of what I kept thinking is I have so much that I want to say, so much. I had that experience of an employee of, I've got a lot of wisdom. I'd really like to pass it on. I'd really like to be part of the sharing. Mm-hmm. I'd really like to be a voice at the table if possible. As what occurs in a lot of businesses, the owner says, great, and thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And so that felt like a lot of the time, like, hey. It was like, okay, but your role is different, so please let us handle it. And I just saw time and time again that, like, ignoring that, if you're going to have people the number one thing you can do is tap into the collective wisdom of the people. And I don't care if they're 25 or if they're 80, there's something in there to grab and pull out. And as a business owner, there is so much latent potential. There's so much latent wisdom sitting in your people that if part of your weekly or biweekly or monthly process isn't wisdom extraction, you're doomed. You've got the air conditioning on with the windows open. So much is going out the door, even just from the people appreciate you.
Yeah.
Retention stays up. You feel respect when you walk in the door and what you do for you, right? Like all of those things are secondary to, it helps the business to hear what people have to say. And so we had, going in, .com happened, but some people, survived, moved on, had good clients that didn't get so impacted or what have you. We were on an upswing, I think, when I joined the next company that I was at in New York City. But almost incredibly as quickly, the next thing happened. And it was not something you could predict. It wasn't sit and watch, Squawk Box or hey, let's read the Wall Street Journal every day and do predictive markets and see who's strong, and that was September 11th. One of the things in business I think you have to be able to do is say to yourself, if I've learned something in somewhere else, does this apply? Can I quickly apply it? So .com felt like an idiotic orgy of a money grab that created this bubble that exploded on everyone, but nobody wanted to question it while it was happening. September 11th was an out of the blue, like, what is happening? Geopolitics.
Entire worldview shocked. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like it was a global shock. It hit markets everywhere, and the worst of it is so one of the things that occurred was the company that I was at it had sort of two departments, so to speak. And again, I ran sort of the production, like all the creative and the logistics of what was happening, no matter whether we did destination management or events. But since New York was an epicenter the epicenter of that day, if you did stuff in New York, you were in trouble.
Yeah.
Because it was strange. There was a lot that had shifted, and we had one pharmaceutical company, headquartered in New York, and they're like, we're doing nothing in New York, and we have to be out of the city, and everything has to. So people were like, don't go near New York.
Yep.
For a long time. The second thing that was really crazy about that was, it wasn't, can we see which clients are successfully economically doing well or not, there was like a 6-month shutdown just on a psychological basis.
Yeah.
Is it okay to be doing what we're doing? And some markets still trudged forward. The social market, people were going to get married, weddings were going to happen, people's 75th birthdays were going to happen, bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, everything related to age or life process was going to happen. So social markets did better. They did okay. But the corporate markets were like, what do we do here?
Yeah. Do I even want to put my people on an airplane?
Who's doing team building right now?
Right.
First this happened. We're such in shock. I mean, and the amount that got erased, we were, that company was on record for, was going to set a record for the amount of revenue in Q4. And the whole sheet got wiped out. The whole sheet got wiped out. And then it was, what are we picking up? Because Q1 is usually a bad month in destination management in a northern city. Certainly a lot of people aren't coming to New York January, February, March.
Sure.
It was hard. And you say so trying to get to say to yourself, who psychologically is ready to get started
Mm-hmm.
is a tough call. And, so we tried to, that was a marketing thing. We tried to, as best we could, we knew we couldn't do the convincing ourselves. We had to empower the direct clients of ours within companies to do the convincing within their company.
Yep.
And so that was one of the first things we realized is this was not a money situation. This is a psychological situation, and people don't know what to do. And when people don't know what to do, you have to do two things. You have to tell them, one, it's okay to take action. Two, here are your options. Mm-hmm. And it didn't have to be the same, we are partying, this is great. Is everybody laughing? Oh my God, work is such a fun place. It could be, let's do team building, but let's get down to brass tacks.
Yep.
It could be, let's do something patriotic via our company. Let's create something that helps people uplift. Okay. We had to create the options that people could easily sell and then get them in their hands. So it was a very different situation from what happened in .com, which was purely economic.
Yep.
I mean, granted, 9/11 was economic, but you had to say to yourself, how do we get the engine moving again and quickly?
Yep.
Like, what are the first little bites that we could get going? Because you also couldn't say, oh, here's the big giant event we do, and it's so much fun, and it's all for sales and branding purposes. And you go, no one's going to do that again. But how do you get that company to do 5 smaller events, to get the wheels turning, to get the momentum going so everyone does feel better about being together, about doing events, about keeping the economy going, at the same time honoring what happened in this historical moment and being present for it and being understanding of it. And so 9/11 was really, it made you realize and understand how close you needed to be to your clients so that they would trust you to do the right thing in any moment. Mm-hmm. And 9/11 was a difficult moment, no doubt about it, and no one knew what to do.
Yeah.
And if you can gain that confidence in knowing that your clients know you're going to do the right thing, and that then comes to your value set, who you are. Not this is a sales pitch. It's this can really work. This can help in this moment. What if we did this? Here's great options. Let everybody benefit from it. And so there was a lot of talk about that, and there was a lot of effort, and we had to say to ourselves, we have to start flexing a marketing muscle that we never had before, and it was also, that was the first time during the September 11th period, we'll call it, where I realized how important it is to have a strong ecosystem in place when there isn't a problem. We had, you mentioned my involvement with ILEA, which prior to 2014 was called ISIS, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. There was no problem for 28 years until geopolitics happening again. But the ability for everybody to come together after September 11th, first to be together, two, to talk and know each other and understand each other and to understand what we were all going through was massive. Mm-hmm. It was perspective changing. So I think September 11th and what happened after that showed me the strength in human ecosystems within a market. I mean, there was such a pity party for New York because it was like, oh my God, the biggest things happened. But then everybody in outside markets was saying, Kev, you guys are going to be the first ones to come back because everyone's doing things in New York in a patriotic, triumphant way. Nobody's coming to Orlando anymore. Yeah. Nobody's in DC. Nobody's rallying around Cincinnati. And you go, I didn't even think that. And here I'm inviting everybody. Come to New York. It's like, Kev, the whole thing is shut down. This is everywhere. This is bad everywhere, but you guys are actually getting the most attention. And just gaining that perspective allowed me to understand like how important it is for the holistic health of an ecosystem. And I think that's what, September 11th taught us. And we stayed flat. We didn't grow. We didn't shrink. We just said time to buckle up and again, get the wheels going. And I think by summer, things started to feel like we're ready to go again because there wasn't as much economic damage.
Yeah.
And so people were ready. It was just that psychological barrier.
Safety.
And who's going to be the first one back in?
Yep.
Yeah. And so we tried as best we could to say, anybody can go, guys. Just somebody dip your toe in. Even if it's just your toe, then somebody will dip a foot, and then somebody will dip a leg, and then someone's going to cannonball in, and off we go again to get this going. And that's what happened.
So 4 events, all very different, but I would say 2 largely financial, 2 largely safety related, and then the 2 safety related happened in a moment, right? So 9/11, that was a moment in time. Everything stopped. The plane stopped flying. COVID, a little, not as quick, but the planes just stopped one day, right? Like that's the industry dropping out. 2008 and the bubble, those were slow motion car crashes that we had to sort of endure. And so how do you psychologically, for both, keep your employees feeling safe in that space? Because it's hard to move the psychological needle for a whole nation.
That's right. So there is no, as you guys know, as business owners, I think one of the biggest things what you can say with what is the success of the business are the decisions that you make. Now, I used to have a funny argument with my mom. It used to drive me nuts when I would drive with her and she would be driving in, so one, there's a whole control issue, right? But the second thing with that is mom would get behind a truck and she would drive all the way up to the truck. And then she'd be like, oh, we're stopped. And then she'd be like, oh, blinker. And then she'd be like, look over her shoulder and be stuck behind the truck. And I'm like, Mom, we saw that truck from half a mile away. Why didn't you jump out and go? Why are we stopped here?
Yeah.
And it's because so many people wait until the thing happens and then go, what do we do? So there's reaction and then there's preparation. And I think there's not much you can do to say, what do we do in a September 11th moment? Now you could.
Yeah.
But what do you do in these moments? And I think preparation is key, and preparation is involvement, and preparation is telling your people we're prepared. Some of the stuff we're doing is preparing. Here are the lifeboats. Here are the life jackets. Guys, do you like this process? Does this work for us? Hey, when something is about to happen, we think we have a plan and this is what we want to do. Because when you're in it and you go, I just hope. If the plan is we hope it works, we hope we dodge the bullet, you're in trouble. And your employees, when somebody doesn't know anything, that's when the panic sets. And that's when everybody starts stampeding, as opposed to we know what's going to happen. We know what leadership has in store for us. We know what the plan potentially could be. And we know what our first 3 steps are.
Sure.
And when you've prepared, so like I remember I was teaching, I was a mentor for people who were trying to get their CSEP, which is a certification that ILEA gives. And one kid was working for, I think, JP Morgan Chase, young kid, events, great person to talk to. And we're like, oh yeah, we're hearing rumblings. And he's like, oh, it's not going to be good. And I'm like, well, what do you mean it's not going to be good? He's like, this isn't a bump, Kev. This is going to be like 3 years or 4 years of pain. And I'm like, what? And this is like late 07, early 08. And we know like the big stuff really didn't happen till 9 when things really got bad. But people knew and people heard the rumblings. And the company I was at, we did not prepare until it was bad. So what are you doing when you're in a bad situation? You are panicking, right? You are hyper narrow focused. Like cops will say that when they start shooting, their field of vision gets down to like microscopic, right? So we are not calm. We are not in space. We are not in flow and seeing everything that's ahead of us. We are in panic mode and we start shoving, pushing, panicking, and making bad choices. I will say we had there was some proud moments of transformation with that company with the leadership to a degree. They said, we're going to open the books and show you how bad it is and what we need to do. And that was the first time we ever understood the books at that company and how much revenue and how much things cost. But I was like, you got to show them that. You got to, let's look at it so we can all look and see if there's a potential win in an employee who can solve something. We started thinking beyond our sales funnel, which was driven by associations. Like they bought into memberships to drive, here's our New York partner, go do an event with them. And like, we have to be proactive, but also let's be evergreen. Like there are recession-proof industries. I think you guys are part of one. You operate, the health industry, the insurance industry, military, higher ed. These are recession-proof industries that you have to be willing to be a part of.
Yep.
To say, if we can have a certain percentage of our client portfolio living in these, we can survive the big. Yeah. So we started doing that, and it was way too late.
Yeah,
it was way too late. So we had to go from everybody's at 75% salary. Well, first it was, do we want to fire people or do we want to cut salary?
Yeah.
And everybody said cut salary.
Yeah, of course.
And then it was, all right, we're going to cut salary. And then within a month, it was, we're firing people.
Yeah.
So now we're firing people, and now we're getting rid of the office, and now we're cutting bait on this, and now we're getting rid of that. And it was an implosion that nobody was prepared for, and that was a big lesson in preparation, but also in pain, right? Like we saw the pain unfold for everybody, and that so 2008. The mortgage crisis, and again, it was global. And people were like, don't quit, Kev. You got a job, don't quit. There's nothing out here, man. It's a bloodbath. But some people started their own company then. And that was the smartest thing they could have done. And I kind of feel like that's what led to XPL in 2011.
Sure.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, this is going to be great because now you need lead time and you're small and lean. You can afford to be on your own. Build it so that you're running by the time the economy picks up, right? Surfers say paddle before the wave crest.
Yep.
Get paddling so you're ready to ride it. So that was what 2008 was like.
It's like buying the bottom of the stock market, right? We're at our lowest. It's going to come back. Let's position ourselves for the comeback.
Until a global pandemic.
Yeah. I want to challenge you a little, Kevin, because you said, when things are good and the money's pouring in, we make bad decisions. And then you said when things are bad and we're making fear-based decisions, those are also bad. Can humans make good decisions in general?
Oh, no. I think, yeah. So they can if you understand the end goal, and this is where we can really start getting zen about life and goal and being and what have you. It's like, what are we trying to get out of this moment? And are we trying to get, my God, everybody's getting 401k matching whatever, and yay, we're going to con, and then we're just going to spend a week there, and that's our company retreat. And are we trying, are we trying to get trying to get to a Super Bowl commercial level? With what we're doing here, what are we trying to do with this enterprise?
Yep.
Is it the thing, or is it how we feel, either getting the thing or having the thing? Is that what we're trying to do? Because you can get to that feeling, you can get to that satisfaction, you can get to that place of peace without all of those things. If you can get to space, like, if you can calm it down, if you can slow it down, the way this was described to me once was perfect. It was an athletic analogy, go figure. But the top athletes, their hearts don't race in the championship moments. They don't answer the call of complete, oh my God, because their heart rate is just like, I'm like this, right? And a newbie going in for that, right? Brunson taking it, they're calm as a cucumber. That's the difference between championship. But also the difference between professional and not is Somebody once said, I see the spin of the stitches on a baseball when it's coming at me, even though it's coming at me at 90 miles an hour. When it leaves the pitcher's hands, I see the spin. Andre Agassi famously said that. I can see the tennis ball whites in the green spinning as if it's slow motion, as it's arriving to me. I can read the whole thing. That is the ability to slow everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the ability to slow everything down if you choose to do it. So in the moments where you're safe, in the moments where there is health, in the moments where the market is good, you have a good, your client portfolio is balanced and you're feeling like they're all healthy, your people, there's not much churn. In those moments, those are the moments where you have to get space and slow it down and make big decisions for the moments when it gets crazy.
Yep.
And I think that's when you have the ability, when you don't care, when you're not in the orgy, when you're not in the grab, right? When you're not in the business, oh my God, now's the time for me to do better than my older brother because I've always had a complex about my older brother, but I'm going to grow this company, etc. I had a good friend, Mike Burchick, and he had said there was one time where he wanted to operate in 90 countries. That was his goal, to be in 90 countries. And then he sat down and he said, after a couple of years, he's like, I don't know where that number came from or why I needed to do it. I just felt I needed to do it. And so many of us are like that. We need this. We need that. I got to be in 3 states. I want to be bi-coastal. I want to open up a shop in Singapore. I want to do the Olympics. I want to, right? Everybody's got all these thoughts and they're just random thoughts. And it's like, get back to what your original reason for being in business is. Is it to bring you peace? Is it to allow you to live? Is it allow you to have space to do things? I know people are so consumed by their business. Is that making you happy?
Yep.
Consumed by it?
Yeah.
Or should it allow you to do something else? So when you have the calm and you have the health and you have the ability to have space, make those big decisions and then stick with those decisions. Say to yourself, I'm going to be true to that because what I'm trying to achieve isn't the business thing. It's the feeling I have. It's the being, my beingness when I think I'm going to achieve that. You can get to happiness without being in 90 countries. You can get to happiness without having merch.
You can get to happiness before reaching the destination too. So it's the whole destination versus the journey discussion. And I think it's up to us as business leaders to set destinations that make the journey enjoyable. So when we look back, it wasn't, hey, we got to the 90 countries. It was like, do you remember when we were in 5 countries and how hard we hustled and how fun that was when we got to Expo? That's what we should be doing. That's what we should be get people focused on.
100%. And saying to yourself, what is the life I want? You know, I started by talking about my kids. The leaving the company, right? So that I was at during the mortgage crisis, I say leave, forcibly leaving, pushed out the door, allowed me to sit there and say, how would I do this? And having seen a bunch of small businesses and the struggles that they had and the making decisions, but then also say to myself, in the next few years, I would like family. I would like to spend time, like I would like to travel more. Like I would like a life not consumed by a business. And I remember my first boss saying to me, Kev, I would make a lot more money and do a lot better if this was just me. And I said, what if I set up a business that could do big things, but was not, I need brick and mortar, and was not, I need 30 employees, but it was, I get to work with great people. I get to do interesting things. And when I choose, I can be in the places I want. And 9 times out of 10, that's watching my kids grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself on the 3rd iteration of business, of my involvement in a business in the event industry, that's what I'm going to stick to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to do. And when I look back, I won't sit there and go, oh my God, it was so great. We won a 2nd place award at this industry's, awards dinner. And I feel so proud of that. I spent every single goddamn moment I could with the people I wanted to or in the places I wanted to.
Yeah.
And, because you have to start with the end in mind. Oh my God, Franklin Covey, first business book ever wrote, 7 Habits, right? Start with the end in mind. Start with where everybody usually regret. Get your data. I read a whole book on people who regret in hospice, the top regrets in hospice. As people are about to die, what are they confessing that they wanted to have out of life? business is very personal. Business allows you to do things in life, but business prevents a lot of life from happening. And so for me, what was big was I saw all these things being preventative, and it's like, you could do all the things you want to do, and not worry about it, and say to yourself, is the hang up what the modern day version of success is, or is the hang up, I can't let go of that?
Mm.
And once you can let go of it and be true to yourself, then you're making decisions in flow. Then you're making decisions in calm. Then you're making decisions that match with what you want out of your life. And those are the best decisions you can possibly make. Now you're calm. Now you're smart. Now your eyes wide open, heart big and clear and ready for anything. And it doesn't mean you don't do anything. It just means you're doing things from such a place of such freedom that every decision is incredible. Every decision is bigger. Every decision feels real. And I think that's what more people need to get to. And it allowed me during COVID, quite honestly, it allowed me to survive the comet, right? The small, tiny mammals survived the comet.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit and there was nowhere to jump to, there was no, oh, let me go to another agency or let me go to another industry. Again, I pulled off my best year of revenue threefold. And it felt good. And it was because of adaptability and because of decisions I made in advance. And that's a big thing, adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
And adaptability 9 times out of 10 is how adaptable are you to be able to give up your shit? Sorry.
Yeah.
And to free yourself to say, I don't have to know everything. I just need my guideposts. And if I stay within my guideposts, good things will happen.
It's clear that you've learned a lot from every single one of these industry changing events, right? One thing I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on is you've been in the room for a lot of conversations and decisions that are going to impact not only a business, but customers and also livelihoods, right? So from the .com to 9/11 to COVID, what were those conversations like, and kind of what was your stance in those conversations? Were you a part of the leadership team making those decisions? Were you an employee in the room listening to how we should navigate this? What were those conversations like? What did you learn, and how did you implement that into your business today?
Oh, good question. Very good question. So let's get to the simple stuff of just describing. So I've never been in a big agency, although once I went out on my own, I white labeled for a bunch of big agencies. But when I was in the thick of things in a lot of these, I was at a small business. And because of my position, usually, there's like an owner, and then there's not much else. There's not much between the owner and like an intern, right? There's like a level, maybe 2. And so I was always a confidant of owners. I think I brought an intellectual perspective. I brought a creative way of thinking. I had a confidence. I understood a lot of things. So there was a people relied on me for counseling. Not that they said make the decision, but they're like, I would sit down and it would be like, we're gonna have to make some tough decisions here, guys, and X, Y, and Z. And they would listen if I knocked on the door and said, hey, just want to let you know. Right? And again, I get that thank you, and now we'll make the decisions. Again, there was one company where I was responsible for what felt like a department. At one point, it was about 12 people, and that was the first time where I felt like what I decide, what I say, or what I do will have an impact on a person's life. And I think one of the things that you learn, it's kind of like divorce. You worry and worry and worry about the kids. But kids are resilient if you're straightforward with them and if you make things very clear. And I think people know what they're getting into. So if we talk about employees know what they're getting into when they get into a business, especially a small business. They know. Who knows where this goes. This is not permanent. Here's what they expect. Hopefully smart decision making. Hopefully that decision making is quick. Not quick in, oh, you made a rash decision, but not 3 months of keeping people on the line when they could be looking for another job, right? Which also then goes into, it needs to be honest. It needs to be transparent. And then people will survive. But you've got to empower them to survive. I remember there was one person I worked with, and just the fit wasn't there, but there was so much worry about their history with the company and how long they'd been there and it was such a discombobulated holding on, not holding on. What should we do? Oh, they kind of know, but there's friction, but I don't know. And it just became messy. And it was like, this just should have been a long time ago, but so many things about ego and worry and guilt and shame, as every business owner knows, it's personal. So you feel badly. You're entrusted to give this person a career and a lifeline and a salary and hopefully a better life. And when you go, I can't do that for you anymore. It's not working for the business. The boat has to stay afloat, and you're kind of pulling the boat down a bit. Mm-hmm. But people are resilient, and they can respect the fact that you're making a decision. And as long as it's not, like making shit up. I mean, I feel bad for these people at Meta. They were sold a bill of goods, and now they're wiping people out in the thousands. And they go, oh no, AI is great. AI is wonderful for you. No, AI is going to take your job. And it's not, oh no, it's only going to take people's jobs who don't use AI. No, the whole purpose of AI is to replace you. So as you use it, you're training the person who's being hired to, right? But these people are being sold a bill of goods, and now they're angry, and now they're mad, and they wish they just tell us that. So I think people will survive. And I think you have to make business decisions. If you haven't built it with a philosophy of this business is meant to do X or Y, like bring joy to all the employees, give me something to do as a business owner. I don't have to grow. I'm not responsible to share owners, right? If you're responsible to them, everything's going to be a quick business decision. Just respect the people, be open and honest, and give them the time and the ability to react to the situation that happens. Nobody thinks they're not going to get fired. At some point, everybody's going to get fired. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just how you handle it. I think that's big. What I've learned is I would be a terrible person to fire people. But if you live in an ecosystem where everybody is flexible and everybody's doing their own thing, and you meet people who are like you, I mean, to live on an independent contractor model is fantastic because everybody's happy. Everybody moves, everybody does their own thing. And when you can come together, it's great. And then and now you're fluid, and now you can do big stuff because you got the right team together and you've worked together for years. And then you all go on your way. When you can find those people, you've come up with a system that feels good and feels respectful and ebbs and flows with the time. I mean, problem solved.
You made some, to get into the clear skies, because I think we've covered a little bit of the umbrella, but you made some bold statements in the pre-work that said, abandon leadership that doesn't know what it's doing and do it sooner. So the quote you put was, it's your life, and you know right away if they'll make good or bad choices. So how early did you actually know? And at that time, did you leave or did you wait too long?
I think so. When I first started, I said, I'm going to give myself 4 years, which, I mean, most Gen Zers would laugh at.
Yeah.
4 years. They're like, 3 months. They're really good into hopping. Millennials were not good in hopping. I think they kind of worried. And Gen Xers like me, I think we worried about you got to show respect and you got to give it time to develop.
Yep.
Give it time to develop and see what happens. So to me, 4 years was the sweet spot. Plus, I was just starting out. I mean, I was on my way to the FBI to start a career, and I'm like, let me do events. And I said, I have to learn this. So I had to give myself time to learn and then say to myself, is this where I want to be and what I want to be doing? And then .com happened. And I was like, I think it's time for me to shift and move. And this makes it easy to make a lot of stuff happen. But when I got to the next place, I remember the red flags starting to come up. Well, I mean, first company meeting, I was like, ooh. And life was adventurous. Life was fun. Life kept having these like, oh no, well, we're succeeding. And then be like, I think this is the moment. Stay around. And I kept convincing myself that this is right. After about 4 years, I think is when I did my first interview for another job. It didn't work out. And then again, we started this, oh my God, we added like 7 people all at once. It was like, whoa, all right. Good thing I didn't leave. None of that's what's real. Right? If your marriage is dysfunctional, it doesn't matter you just bought a bigger house. Doesn't matter that you moved to Miami. Doesn't matter that somebody did this or that. Start having kids when it's dysfunctional? Even better, right? Like, none of that's solved. So the red flags that I saw got worse as time went on. And then I realized I'm kind of stuck. And then 2008, it was a tough time to say, hey, get rid of where you are. Nobody had a job. So I knew for a very long time that the decisions that were being made felt not business savvy, not business smart.
Yep.
And it was very personal for the owners, and almost too personal, like dysfunctionally personal. And so I probably just should have said, yeah, that first job didn't work out, that first interview, and you took a big swing. I took a big swing with it. I was like, oh, this could be massive if I get it. And then I said, I didn't get it. Okay, don't do anything. Just, and I should have. I should have just gone out the door. I should have kept going with the process, because what ended up happening happened. What I thought would happen happened, and we hit a lot of bad spots, and it just got dysfunctional. And I said to myself, I stayed there way too long.
Yeah.
But you tend to know. You'll tend to see, am I filled with a majority of good leaders or a majority? You're never going to get all good leaders. But you should be surrounded by enough good leaders that you go, this is going to go to a good spot. And I've got an ability to learn, grow, contribute, and be respected. And I think those are the biggest things people want as employees.
Absolutely.
So don't feel the need to hang on. I laugh now when I look at LinkedIn resumes and like people were there for like 4 months, 2 months, 8 months, 3 months, 5 months. And I'm like, months?
Yeah.
You're only hanging on for months?
Yeah.
And I go, what's so bad with this person? They keep getting fired. And then I'm like, they're not getting fired. That's how that works with employees these days. They're
Which
like,
is worse.
Dump. I think it's worse too.
Yeah.
They're so afraid of friction that they leave at the first bump of friction.
Yeah.
Friction within a body is going to happen. Again, if your leadership is dysfunctional, that's when the major problems happen. But you're always going to have friction. But I hate to say kids today, but it's just what they know. Like, oh, I'll get a better salary every time I jump.
Yep.
Which does happen, but you don't learn anything. You don't connect in any way. You don't figure out how to do stuff when you're there that short.
Correct.
So
you said the industry never prepares for a rainy day. Whose job is it to remember?
Yeah, good question. COVID wiped out a lot of remembering.
Yeah.
I mean, the veterans,
they left.
So when I asked a lot of people, like, what have we learned or this or that? Well, one, there's passion, but no preparation in events. In other words, people do it because they love it. Somebody's going to be a roadie for 40 years because they love music and they love organization and they love the camaraderie and the kind of the freewheelingness of it. Nobody does it for the 401k. Or the health insurance, right? There's not a lot of structure in it. When you get to the big shops, yes, When you get to the big shops, there is. They're now corporations. And when you get to the ones owned by like, you know, a Publicis group or what have you, like that's share owners. That's now you're in the corporate structure. But for 95% of the companies that are out there, who's doing it? And sometimes you can see that there are business people who get into events and there are event people who get into business. And those are two very different outcomes. And, I'm just having fun watching Howard Givner, who is a friend and former business owner and was with Event Leadership Institute. And now he's doing his own thing, reporting on mergers and acquisitions in the event industry.
We've had him on the show.
Yeah. That venture capital is jumping into this is insane. And yet here we are. But when you look at it, it's kind of, you know, the famous book, The E-Myth, right? Where entrepreneurship is just, if you're good at doing something, open up a business to do it. Really? Because people who are good at events, and there's many different types of events, but people who are good at events aren't necessarily good at running a business. And yet they have to manage, run, be a visionary, and do the work, as you all know. I mean, that's what I try and do that every day. But people who are too much into the work and not the business don't prepare.
Yep.
Right. They don't have the 6 months of operational expenses set aside. They're not talking to legislators about taxes. They're not talking about health plans. They're reacting and surviving and hope everything goes well. Let's just make sure we get the gala done. I'm more focused on the gala. And, you know, Michelle, who's our client for 20 years, I like that. I like talking to Michelle and doing the gala. But, you know, who's talking about, again, operational expense and overhead and investments and diversification of portfolio. You know, I have two good friends, Kathy and Chris, over at Ember. And when we did the table, they developed a business out of that, which is now a very unique venue business that they're thinking now that they're going to repeat and grow and get bigger. Now they're running an event agency, but they also realized the power of what they could do at the table. And it was like, this is how you survive bumps, is you iterate, you investigate, you ideate, you sit there and you say, I'm going to experiment and we're going to tinker on small scale. And then when we're ready to go, we'll launch something that works, and we'll constantly be in a churn of try something new. And now you're strong enough to do it. And that's another part of adaptability. But they hired a business person to be their CEO, right? And I was like, genius. This is genius. Neither of you felt like we were business people. We're just going to hire a part-time CEO. And that got them in such a better spot. So the event industry, it has some great business people. There's no doubt about it. I met some legends, people with such a business acumen, and they're in the event world. And I think that that's great. But for the rest of us, just like our country, after the mortgage collapse, we're in a worse position for another mortgage collapse. After COVID, we're in a worse spot, prepared for COVID. I don't think event companies are prepared for another pandemic. And you know what's going to happen? Another pandemic. It's odds. It's just odds.
Yeah.
So are you prepared? Are you doing the work for that? I think there's a lot of just la, 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 la. And where are the good times? And can we just enjoy the good times? But that gets back to why you're in business.
Yep.
For the feeling that you get. And preparations have nothing to do if it feels good. Preparations are painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like training for a marathon. Nobody wants to do the training of the marathon. They want the picture at the end with the medal in the foil blanket. going, I ran the marathon. They put the 24 sticker on their bumper car.
Yeah.
They want that feel, but they don't want the training. And I think we need more of the training. So
yeah, Kevin, you mentioned earlier in the pod that COVID was one of your best years in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
What was the secret sauce to that?
Secret sauce. So keep swimming. Say yes to many things.
Yeah.
Diversify your network. I, for a long time, said yes to Howard Givner. I think I was the first or one of the first teachers, instructors on his online learning platform, the Event Leadership Institute. And I was doing a 101 course. It was just 101. It was like events 101. Oh my God. And okay. And it was 8, 9, 10 years of doing that. And then every year I was just like, okay, I'll keep doing it. I didn't need to do it. It wasn't, again, I was not going to the Caribbean on that money. But I said yes to somebody that I believed in and wanted to help, and just said, okay. Bottom drops out and people are like, what are we doing?
Well,
again, no lifeboat to jump to. There was no like, oh, this segment of the industry is doing all right. It's kind of like, here's Wild West. But Howard was an online platform, and he said, Kev, we need to start putting information out there. One, I'm an online platform and learning. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to have nothing to do that are going to be like, let me start learning. Second thing was, let's let people feel connected. And so Howard said to me, would you be willing to put together webinars? He wasn't paying me for this. He just said, do you want to facilitate webinars? And let's do as many as we can. And I started developing webinars based on people I knew in the industry and niches within the industry and topics that we felt. So all the relationships that I maintained throughout, I was able to now call on at a moment where it was like, everybody's like, holy shit, what are we doing? So calm down. Hey, would you be willing to come on and talk for 30, 40 minutes with one or two other people? And we'll have a frank discussion. And so we did 20 of these, maybe 20, 25 of them. I don't know. People were saying, this is the one thing that keeps me going. It's clicking into your next weekly or bi-weekly or whatever it ended up being, your next session. And I got a call from somebody at an agency who was like, I saw your session on. Now, it's not my session. I wasn't the only one working on these things, but I was being facilitator. I was MC, and I was main question person. And I usually would bring the people together, or Howard would hand me a topic and go, here are the people, let's interview. So by saying yes to something, I was able to just, first of all, keep flowing and stay connected to people. But somebody at an agency saw or logged on to 3 or 4 of those, asked me a question at one point on one of the topics. And she said, you responded so quickly and so thoroughly. I loved it. We have a client that needs digital help. Could you do that? And I said, yep.
Yep.
And that turned into 3 jobs, 3 different clients, all doing digital work. Now, it happened that I was a video editor, so I knew how to do video editing, and I was a good director. And then I grabbed people who were doing virtual stuff that I was good friends with at that company that I left after 11 years. I said, hey, you come on. So now I've got this team going through, and we are cranking through in a world where the marketing, interface marketing all stopped. Suddenly everybody needed the digital marketing. If you had a system that you could do digital marketing and do it remotely so that you don't have to visit people to film, you don't send a film crew, you send a video in a box, a video studio in a box anywhere, and get that system going. And within a month, we had that system going.
Yep.
Well, now we're saviors. And I think the quick reaction, the having a network that was ready to go, the putting yourself out there and staying connected, but also doing it not, oh, you're paying me to do that. I wasn't behind a paywall. I was doing it for free. This is what people will understand who you are, what values you've got, and they're attracted to you simply by who is this person in this time of need. And then of course, yeah, the Event Leadership Institute, I developed, I think, 2 or 3 classes and even a certification on pandemic safety.
Cool.
And that did incredibly well. So it was like everything just fit in this moment of saying yes when you've got the space.
Yep.
If you've got the space, slow it down, see the option, make a decision, and feel, is this going somewhere? And it was kismet, and it was also a moment in time, because by 2022, when people were allowed to do stuff,
it was over.
Digital was done.
Yeah.
Get back to work. Everyone went back to their old agencies, and life moved on.
Whiplash.
Right? So,
yeah, for sure.
Crazy whiplash.
Yeah. Kevin, let's do something a little lighter, which we call our lightning round. Quick questions, 1-sentence answers, and we'll keep them fun and maybe serious. But I guess my first question is, you're traveling for work, you check into the hotel, you get to your room. What's the first thing you do?
I would love to say shoes off and rub my toes in the carpet like Die Hard. But the first thing I do, unfortunately, is I'll get into bed and log into Wi-Fi and just make sure I'm set up to. It's terrible, and that's so
Before you unpack.
boring.
Yeah.
Huh?
Before you unpack.
So I'm a terrible. So I've been with someone where that's what they do. They come in and they set it up as if it's their house, right?
Yeah.
So fully nested, everything in drawers. I may be picking out of my suitcase the entire time.
Gotcha.
There.
Yeah.
Like unpacking to me is so, I don't want to do it. I don't want to think about it. I'm about to go guns blazing for 5 days, 6 days, 8 days. So let me just sit on a bed, be connected, and go, I'm just going to zone out for the quiet, and then the storm hits.
So the room, just a place.
It's my one moment of no logistics.
Yeah, a place to drop your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just drop it and sit and go. Before I need to
Not
do
gonna worry
anything
about
else,
it.
quiet. Here's my quiet.
Yeah. Nice. Kevin, I ask a lot of our guests this question, and all the answers are always different. So I'm curious to hear your answer to this. What's one thing that you do daily or weekly that helps keep you grounded and get through the day or the week?
One of the things that I've started to do is I do a check-in before I get out of bed. Now, a check-in is emotions, feelings, could be a body part. Could be like, is there pain? I do this. The check-in is, what am I getting to the root of? I try to get to the root, right? So something's on the surface, and then I go, but what's the root of it? So is it panic, sadness, excitement? Like I said, it could be, I've got something in my shoulder. Where do I think my lower back? Where do I think this is coming from? And then I try to just get grounded with the fact that I'm the consciousness witnessing this. This is just something that's happening. Now I'm free of it because I know I'm not attached to it. It resets my entire mentality in the morning. And usually the morning, the urgent is going off, and everybody goes into urgent. And urgent is not never. Many times urgent is not important. It just seems that way because it's urgent. But I try to connect with the important, which is what is going on inside me. What do I think the root is? Now I can let it go and be free of it and move on. And if I do that on a daily basis, I have a good week.
Does it work?
I think it does.
Nice.
spiritual thinkers like a Ram Dass, he'll say, we try and free ourselves of these emotions and anger and jealousy and fear. You never get rid of them because that's your operating system. But eventually they don't become overwhelming. They become these little bumps, right? It's the same thing. It's instead of this, it's right. But too many times we associate ourselves with that, oh, we are this thing. And once you can dissociate yourself, again, it gives you the space. It gives you the space. It gives you the freedom to make a decision in flow and with clarity, as opposed to within the feeling or the fear or the, whatever it is that's attached to. But it certainly does. And I'm feeling that happening over the last few years. Like, I'm definitely feeling oh my God, this does not put me under the way it normally would.
Yeah. Take that extra step. Yeah.
And people react to that.
Yeah.
People see that a lot more, I think. So everybody say, oh, did you meet so-and-so? Yeah, I got bad vibes, right? What's vibe? What's the word vibe? Vibration.
Right.
How you're vibrating sets off into the room, and people pick up on it or don't. And you either are in sync or you are really not in sync, and you know it right away. And you're like, I got bad vibes from that. I think knowing where you're at and resetting yourself is what allows you to be at optimal performance. And let's not just say optimal performance for business.
Life.
Yeah. Business is just one part of life. And so checking in each morning before I got out of bed and doing a scan, key.
Yeah, that's great advice. It actually took me like an embarrassing amount of time to figure that piece out, where you'd wake up and be frustrated and you wouldn't diagnose why. And either way, you want to get rid of that feeling. So one, you could diagnose why to get rid of the feeling and say like, well, here's the core of it. I'm going to go fix that thing. Or you're going to pass it to somebody else. And so deal with it yourself, and you won't have that bad vibe. Get to the core of it and just fix the thing. I love that.
Or even better, don't worry that you've got the feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm frustrated. Frustration doesn't rule me. It's there, and I know why. Yeah. I know what I'm afraid of, scared of, angry about, right? All the sources. So I can live with it. It'll go. When it goes, it goes. But I'm not attached to it, and I'm not it. So it'll go in time, and then now you start freeing everything up.
Yeah.
Now the log jam of all your shit starts letting go.
How many people do you go up to nowadays and you're like, well, how's it going? And everybody, almost everybody to a T, oh, I'm just so busy. Just so busy. And you're just like, fuck, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, that's not helpful. Like, this is not a good conversation. And so I changed the narrative now. I'm just like, I'm amazing. I'm fucking alive. I'm dealing with problems just like everybody else. But I'm busy isn't the answer. It's a cop-out.
Yeah. I don't think I ever say I'm busy, although I think I kind of said that today. I was like, today's a shit show. But when you said hello to me in the beginning. But yeah, I think most people will always do that because they sit there and they go, well, now let me scan my life. And so like this has helped no one be unfree from that answer, right? This is supposed to free us, and it's made it worse. And it's because we chase, and it's because we feel we any space that exists, we fill it.
Yeah.
Right? We need a bigger house. Why? We have too much stuff. Get rid of stuff. Because when you buy a bigger house, you know what you do? You
fill it with shit. Yeah.
And I think we have this inability to say to ourselves, put the big rocks in first. And one of the biggest rocks you can, that analogy, the professor, like, can you get the rocks and the sand, and they put the big ones in first. One of the big ones has to be nothing. One of the big rocks has to be nothing. Space.
Yeah.
Space. Quiet. Nothingness. I'm so proud of her. The one thing I'm proud of is I'm hearing more noise. God, I'm hearing more noise about when you design a program, where the hell is the white space?
Yes, 100%.
Where's reflection moment? Where is processing moment?
Yep.
And the worst of it is even if you do, this is still with
Yeah.
It takes away all the processing, because we jump from, I should be thinking about what the CEO just said and maybe come up with some ideas, or this guy who's talking about creativity and how to drive innovation. I should sit and think about that. Instead, it's great. Oh, I heard that. Well, crap, 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 crap. And now your brain is in, and it's sad. And there's a generation who has no idea how to process in white space, no idea what to do with white space. My kids say, I'm bored. When can we do that? Be bored.
Yeah.
I just said that to my son 2 days ago.
Sounds awesome. Just sounds great.
Be bored and then figure out what to do with the boredom, and you'll come up with something so new, you'll love it. So, but the people who say I'm busy, or if I ever say I'm busy, I like to say stuff like, what are you most afraid of right now? Like if I go up to someone and be like, hey, how you doing? So what's your biggest fear right now?
Yeah. Or on the opposite end, what are you excited about?
What made you laugh in the last 3 days?
Yeah.
It's just enough. There was a great experiment that Stanford did where they were talking about association and how people replay answers when they're hearing the same stuff. It's like self-fulfilling. And so they said something like the word blue, and everybody said so they asked, all right, blue, give me something blue. And everybody said sky, 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 right? And what's and somebody said notes, like the blue note, the jazz thing. And it suddenly, and then all the answers started becoming a lot more creative. Mm-hmm. So there's a notion of disruption throughout the day that is good to do so that you find new answers or new places to occupy.
Yep.
But we're so just quick for the quick answer, busy.
We play this little game here at 180, and I have to give credit to our chief strategy officer, Ryan, because he starts every creative session with this to get us out of that mindset. And he'll just find an object in the office, and it could be like an AirPod case like this, and he'll say, all right, we're going to pass this around, and you're going to tell me what this is, and it can't be what it is. So it can be anything. And so we pass it around, and by the end of 2 minutes, we are just totally in this abstract mind space and ready to be creative. It's so helpful.
Whose line is it anyway? The original British one had a great one of that. It was called props. And you're just handed two things or one thing, and it's like, tell us what this is. And obviously it was always very funny. But yeah, same thing. Yeah. Imagine something different. And we're so attuned to efficiency. The brain tries to be as efficient as possible that things just get chopped down. And again, narrow field of vision. And as you become an expert, that field becomes even narrower. And I think that's another part of why you want to keep your networks fluid and open and diverse, because you're going to be hit with a disruptive thought that allows you to go from this to this field of vision. And that's where the magic happens. That's where curiosity happens. That's where friction happens. That's where exploration happens.
Well, you just did it to us. You took our lightning round and we really dove deep on something.
Yeah, for sure.
I and in the back of my head, I'm going, these are not ones. They're not doing the rules. I'm like, but they're not fighting you on it.
There are no rules.
No.
Yeah.
All right, I will do one. If you got one more, I'll do a one sentence. I will.
I got one for you.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
If you could see any musician or band, dead or alive, live in concert, who would it be and why?
Well, hopefully they're alive.
I think it would have to be one of the classics, like a Beethoven, because we never saw, we never knew, and such genius. There's no picture. There's no.
Yeah.
Play me a ditty. Right? And you're sitting right there, and you're like hearing. We have pictures of everyone else, right, from the 1860s on. We've got picture.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I would do one of the classics that we have no idea what they would be like in person.
Little tip cup on the piano, like that. We always finish with the same question, and it's, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone early in their career in this industry?
Your career is just one part of your life. Always remember that. It's and sometimes the least important part of your life.
Amazing.
I'm trying to be one sentence here. So yes, know that life, we're on a rock hurtling through a void.
Yeah.
That's going to die in 9 billion years because of a sun's expansion. It can be joyful and wonderful. Everything is joyful and wonderful because we exist and you're here and you're doing stuff. Don't get so tied up in the notion of expectation or what your ego says you have to do. Your ego is a overreactive manager to your life's survival, but has nothing to do with enjoying or how you are being throughout life. And how you are being is the most important, not what you are doing.
Yeah.
So we're human beings. So find yourself in the being more than anything else.
I love that. Kevin, this is a great episode. I think we bit off more than we could chew by trying to tackle 4 global events in one. I think we left a lot on the table, but we'll just keep the people wanting more. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
Well, this was a pleasure for me. And again, I'm a pessimist. Somebody contacts me, hey, I'd love to meet you on LinkedIn. Great. Unless you give me a reason. And I just said, you know what? Just do this. And this felt great. This felt fun.
Thanks for taking a chance. I kind of sent that message cold. So this was really fun to connect with you. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Kevin, thanks for being on.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
All right, Chris, there's tons of takeaways from that. But, the first is, and this hurts like as a business leader, if you're out there and your leadership is incompetent and you can define that early, find somewhere else to go, make a decision for yourself and make a decision that's going to make you happy, but also continue to build out your network. We hear that a lot on this show. The bigger your network and the more you contribute to that network and not just take, the better you'll be off in the future and the more opportunities that will come your way.
Yeah. Another classic example of don't be afraid to make that change. Always stand up for what you believe in. When you see something that you know is not right or it's not the best fit for you, don't be afraid to make that change. And most importantly, what Kevin reiterated that we've discussed many times is always say yes.
Yeah.
You never know what an opportunity is going to bring. You never know what doors that's going to open. You never know what connections you're going to make. So always say yes. Do the thing, learn from it, experience it, grow, build connections, and who knows what's on the other side. But super great having Kevin on today. And until next time.
22 and green. First job going under. Watched the print money room go quiet as thunder. They called it a bubble, I called it the floor. Pulled out from beneath me, then it came back for more. .com, then the towers, then the houses, and the whole world stood still. 4 times the same lesson, 4 times against my will. So I learned to slow the whole thing down. See the seam on the ball before it leaves